Fang Chen stood beneath the Sect gate tower, his expression ice cold. Forget gold lacquer or cinnabar. This blood. Red is the perfect shade for the inscription. Ever since the man revealed his ties to the White Bone Alliance, Fang Chen had been wary that he might unleash that blood hand. Thankfully, he acted just in time. Otherwise, the master of the Heavenly Secret Pavilion would have been in serious danger. Another 3. Aperture Nascent Soul. The scarred man gasped, shock written all over his face. Fairy Cloud Raymond stepped forward as well, letting her true power surge into the open. The peak of the 2 Aperture Nascent Soul. Demon Emperor Nuxin followed suit, allowing his aura to explode outward. A 2 Aperture Nascent Soul. Yu Mingzhu and Liu Qingxian watched with chilling gazes, both revealing the overwhelming pressure of the 1 Aperture Nascent Soul realm. 6 experts in the Nascent Soul realm. The scarred man was reeling with disbelief. 2 3 Aperture Nascent Souls, 2 2 Aperture Nascent Souls, and 2 1 Aperture Nascent Souls. Where the hell did 6 experts of the Nascent Soul realm suddenly come from in the Taking Grand Province? 2 3 Aperture Nascent Soul cultivators, in particular, would be high-ranking elders in almost any major sect. A moment later, a ruthless sneer returned to his face. It's a good thing the Alliance leader sent me. If I let you kids reach your potential, there'd be no stopping you. His gaze turned vicious as he locked onto Liu Qingxian, who had just finished crossing the tribulation. He decided to pick them off one by one, starting with the weakest link. With a flick of his mind, the Blood Hand's fingers elongated into jagged spears, thrusting straight for Liu Qingxian. But a heartbeat later, the Blood Hand froze mid-strike. Confusion flashed across his face, followed by absolute horror as he realized he had lost all control of his body. Somehow, ghostly chains had coiled around his soul without him even noticing. Terrified, he barely managed a gasp before a sudden, bone-chilling cold sliced across his neck. Fang Chen, wielding the purple sword, took his head off in one clean, lethal sweep. Then, with a clench of his fist, the chains dragged the scarred man's soul out of his headless corpse and pulled it right into Fang Chen's palm. The man was in total shock. He was a 4-aperture nascent soul. How could he be dead already? And worse, his soul couldn't even escape. Meeting Fang Chen's freezing gaze, he pleaded, "Fellow Taoist, please, show mercy. I was only following orders. I couldn't go against the Alliance leader's command. Just give me a chance at bodies ceasing to start over. I'll pay you back 10-fold, I swear." "What are you doing?" He watched as Fang Chen produced a 4-hole jade disc and began shoving his soul toward one of the empty slots. Sensing a grim end, the man roared, "If you go this far, our Alliance leader will never let you live." Fang Chen replied flatly, "We never provoked you, yet you still came here to kill. Clearly, whether we provoke you or not doesn't change your actions. On the contrary, letting you live would just be leaving a problem for my future self. So, why don't you do your part for the Heavenly Secrets Pavilion and contribute a little something?" With that, he ignored the man's agonizing screams and jammed the soul into the slot. As the soul was fully absorbed, the slot erupted with a blinding, blood-red glow. Every nascent soul he'd captured before was only at the first aperture. A 4-aperture nascent soul was a first for him. He wondered if souls of different tiers would produce the same quality of heaven, reaching marrow in the end. He tucked away the fate, reversing jade plate. The entire area was deathly silent. Fang Chen looked around to find everyone staring at him in sheer amazement. The master of the Heavenly Secret Pavilion gave a wry smile. Not long ago, you could barely survive a clash with Master Chenjing. Now you're taking down a 4-aperture nascent soul like it's nothing. I'm starting to feel like a pretty incompetent sect master. Fang Chen knew exactly where this was going. The man wanted to hand over the title of Master of the Heavenly Secret Pavilion to him. Fang Chen cut him off immediately. "Don't even start. You took this burden from the old master with grit and determination. You're going to see it through, tears and all. Don't you dare try to dump it on me." Personal power is one thing, managing a sect is an entirely different beast. Fang Chen had neither the interest nor the experience to lead the Heavenly Secrets Pavilion. It was better for the current master to remain at the helm. The master of the Heavenly Secret Pavilion didn't know whether to laugh or cry. "Fine, then I'll give you a title, the Chief Deputy Pavilion Master." By adding Chief before the Vice Pavilion Master title, it set him apart from the other 4. Fang Chen nodded. "We can do that." Fairy Cloud Raymond strolled over, a playful smile on her lips. "My Fang, just what level of power are you hiding now?" Yu Mingzhu and Liu Qingxian jogged over, beaming with undeniable pride. It was surreal. Not long ago, Fang Chen had to go all out just to fight Demon Emperor Kanqiong. Now, he could effortlessly obliterate a 4-aperture Nascent Soul. But before the three girls could reach him, the space around Fang Chen blurred. Venerable Mantra materialized in a flash, beating them to the punch as she firmly locked her arms around his. She shot a warning glance at the trio, stopping them dead in their tracks. A vein twitched on Yu Mingju's forehead. This woman actually thought Fang Chen belonged to her. She was openly staking a claim. Not even Liu Ruxu was this incredibly territorial. Just as the thought crossed her mind, a dark shadow swept across the sky. A massive avian beast circled and landed. A girl in a flowing teal dress leapt down, bringing a gentle, refreshing breeze with her. Behind her followed a stunning, exotic girl with long blonde hair, protectively cradling her belly. It was Ling Shu and Lialai. Fang Chen blinked in surprise. Why were they lagging behind? He had assumed the two of them were staying with the mainland demon race for the time being. Then he caught sight of the graceful silhouette still standing on the bird's back, his eyes lit up with pure joy. Ruxu. The breeze ruffled her silken hair, but it couldn't ripple the deep, unwavering gentleness in her eyes. With a light leap, she glided through the air and landed softly right in front of him. It hadn't even been that long, yet she had already broken through to the Nascent Soul realm. But it made perfect sense. She had inherited the absolute legacy of a heavenly emperor from the Asura realm, a powerhouse equivalent to a great sage realm expert back in taking Grand Province. Couple that with the personal guidance of the Asura king, and it would actually be weird if her cultivation speed was anything less than monstrous. Liu Ruxu gazed deeply at Fang Chen, her crystal, clear eyes shimmering with unspoken longing. Only then did she notice the woman clinging tightly to his arm. She blinked, looking over in surprise. Venerable Mantra met her gaze head on, completely refusing to back down or let go. Then she noticed Fairy Cloud, Raymond, Yu Mingju, and Liu Qingxian awkwardly stepping back. After a brief moment of calculation, she released her grip on Fang Chen and retreated to stand beside the other three. Mimicking their posture, she consciously averted her eyes from Liu Ruxu's gaze. Fang Chen, who might this be? She could easily tell that the woman's mental state was far from stable. Fang Chen sent a quick telepathic whisper, Venerable Mantra. Liu Ruxu gasped, covering her mouth as her eyes widened. Wait, so the two of you. Fang Chen sighed helplessly. I just pray that when she finally snaps out of it, she doesn't immediately try to murder me. Liu Ruxu instantly grasped his predicament. She nodded in understanding. I'll have a chat with her later. She then glanced at Yu Mingju and Liu Qingxian, a warm glint of relief in her eyes. So the two of them had accompanied him here as well. At least Fang Chen hadn't been lonely on his journey. When her gaze shifted to Fairy Cloud, Raymond, Liu Ruxu's eyes widened in genuine awe. What a breathtakingly beautiful woman, and she's a demon. Could this be the infamous consort Yunxia? Fairy Cloud. Raymond suddenly felt a tight knot of anxiety in her chest. The woman standing before her was Fang Chen's one and only official, recognized wife. Despite her usual composure, she found it hard to breathe, her heart pounding relentlessly in her chest. Taking the initiative, Fairy Cloud Raymond stepped forward and offered a graceful, poised bow. Cloud Raymond greets you, sister. Liu Ruxu shot Fang Chen an utterly bewildered look. Wait, isn't she Demon Emperor Kanqiong's royal consort? Fang Chen rubbed the back of his neck in acute embarrassment, quickly summarizing the wild ordeal they had been through together. Liu Ruxu let out a breath that was half laugh, half sigh, playfully punching his shoulder. You are truly unbelievable. You even managed to corrupt Demon Emperor Kanqiong's consort. Turning her attention back to Fairy Cloud, Raymond's peerless beauty, she sighed in admiration. I've long heard rumors that Consort Yunxia possessed divine beauty and unmatched brilliance. Seeing you in person, the legends don't even do you justice. Fang Chen is a very lucky man. Fairy Cloud Raymond lowered her head, weighed down by shame. I was unfaithful in my past. I've only brought disgrace to my Fang. It was the one dark stain on her entire life's history. Liu Ruxu stepped forward and gently took her hands, her eyes softening. Don't blame yourself. Blame Fang Chen for being far too charming. He managed to drag a heavenly fairy like you down into the mortal coils of love. Fairy Cloud, Raymond looked up, visibly stunned. You don't despise me. Liu Ruxu gently shook her head. Why would I despise you? You were a victim of cruel circumstances, forced into a life you never chose. Thank the heavens you found Fang Chen. From now on, just dedicate your heart solely to him. The agonizing tension gripping Fairy Cloud, Raymond's heart finally dissolved. Liu Qingxian and Yu Mingzhu had always painted Liu Ruxu as an impossibly difficult woman to deal with, but that couldn't be further from the truth. She was incredibly understanding. She didn't even look down on a woman who had previously been bound to another man. Thank you for accepting me, sister. For the rest of my life, my heart belongs entirely to my Fang. I will never waver. Liu Ruxu smiled warmly and gave her hands a final squeeze. Then, letting go, she pivoted toward Venerable Mantra. She stepped forward and said, "Come with me, we need to have a little chat." Seeing that even someone as majestic as Fairy Cloud, Raymond respectfully bowed her head to Liu Ruxu, Venerable Mantra decided to obediently follow her lead. Fang Chen watched them go, a knot of worry forming in his gut. Just what was Ruxu planning to say to Venerable Mantra? He just hoped she wouldn't trigger another one of her psychotic episodes. Just as worry set in, Ling Shu hopped back onto the bird's back. With a beaming smile, she lifted her bare foot and nudged a bundle off the edge. "Catch, big brother." Fang Chen only saw a fleshy green blur and caught it on pure instinct. It turned out to be a toddler, covered in fine cyan scales, sporting a pair of dragon horns, 2 fleshy dragon whiskers at the corners of its mouth, and wearing nothing but a cloth diaper. Who else could it be but Little Rebel? Fang Chen dropped him onto the ground with a look of utter disgust. "You actually brought this thing along," he muttered, frowning. Ling Shu trotted over, playfully nudging Little Rebel's chubby belly with her toes. "He's super well behaved now." Sister Liu Ruxu completely enslaved him with her 8 sceneries secret art. If you pointed at a deer and called it a horse, he'd get right down on all fours and neigh. Fang Chen's expression didn't soften. "I seriously don't want this thing. Let's just have Ruxu take him back to the underground world later." Hearing this, Little Rebel scrambled to his feet in a panic. He latched onto Fang Chen's thigh, bawling his eyes out. "Don't send me back. I get beaten up every single day over there. I never want to go back. Please, just let me follow you." Ling Shu covered her mouth, giggling. "When I went to pick up Sister Ruxu, I saw him acting like a literal punching bag. That little Asura with the silver horns was beating him so badly he wouldn't stop wailing. It was incredibly pathetic." Dark lines formed on Fang Chen's forehead. "You mean the Asura young master, right?" The two of them were about the same age, but the Asura young master had Asura King Ayu backing him up. Little Rebel could only take the beatings without fighting back. That definitely sounded like a miserable existence. I don't keep useless monsters around, and I definitely have no interest in babysitting one in a diaper. Fang Chen disgustedly shook him off his leg. Little Rebel sniffled pitifully. "I'm useful. I swear I'm super useful. Watch." He snatched up a heavy rock and slammed it hard against his own chest. Smack! The rock shattered into pieces. Fang Chen was speechless. "What is this, a street performance? Smashing rocks on your chest? I'm not running a circus here. Go play somewhere else." Little Rebel grew frantic. I'll find something else to show you." He darted his gaze around and suddenly spotted the severed head of the burly middle-aged man. He leaped through the air, slamming his chest right into it. The head instantly exploded into a mist of bone and gore. A flicker of surprise crossed Fang Chen's face. The physical body of a 4-aperture Nascent Soul expert was incredibly tough. Even if it wasn't quite on par with a spiritual artifact, it was definitely vastly superior to the vast majority of Dharma artifacts. Back when Fang Chen was still in the core formation realm, even wielding the purple sword, he'd found it agonizingly difficult to chop off a single finger of a 1-aperture Nascent Soul cultivator. The master of the Heavenly Secret Pavilion also noticed something extraordinary. After a moment of thought, he tossed over a shattered fragment of a spiritual artifact. "Try this." Little Rebel scurried over on his short legs, picked it up, and smacked it against his chest. The fragment didn't break. Gritting his teeth, Little Rebel channeled his power. The cyan scales on his body emitted a faint glow, and with every ounce of strength he possessed, he slammed it into his chest once more. Crack! The spiritual artifact fragment was pulverized into dust. The entire crowd was dumbfounded. Even Fang Chen stood frozen in shock. This little guy had literally pulverized a spiritual artifact with his bare chest. Was this the ultimate, overpowered version of breaking rocks on your chest? The master of the Heavenly Secret Pavilion clicked his tongue in amazement. If this little guy can truly be controlled, he could actually be quite useful. Right at that moment, Liu Ruxu returned, leading Venerable Mantra. It was unclear what she had said to Venerable Mantra, but the latter was following behind her with his head bowed meekly, absolutely terrified to step out of line. Spotting Little Rebel, a flicker of relief crossed her face. Asura King Ayu asked me to tell you that this little true spirit descendant is no ordinary creature. You need to nurture him well. His future potential is immense. As for how to control him, Liu Ruxu stepped up to Fang Chen and pressed her forehead against his. In an instant, a hell inscription radiating pitch black yin kai drifted directly into Fang Chen's soul. Immediately, Fang Chen felt a distinct telepathic tether linking him to Little Rebel. He realized that with just a single thought, he could trace this connection and completely obliterate Little Rebel's soul. I've transferred the control method to you. How you deal with him is entirely up to you. A wave of satisfaction washed over Fang Chen. Without a failsafe like this, there was no way he would have dared to take Little Rebel in. Otherwise, if this little monster decided to give him a loving head, but while he was fast asleep, wouldn't he die the most ridiculous death imaginable? But now the problem was solved. He immediately nodded. All right, Little Rebel, you can stay. Tears of pure joy instantly streamed down Little Rebel's face. He was finally free from that tyrannical little bully. Fang Chen then asked, "Did Asura King Ayu not come? I was hoping an Asura Lord would show up to grace us with her presence." Liu Ruxu shook her head slightly. "She can't leave," she said. The ancient saint is still watching. A sudden chill ran through Fang Chen's heart. No wonder Asura King Ayu preferred to stay hidden with the young master in the sunless depths of the underground world rather than show her face. It wasn't that she didn't want to leave, she literally couldn't. Although she couldn't come in person, she did ask me to bring you a congratulatory gift. Liu Ruxu pulled out a spatial storage artifact, a rather strange expression creeping onto her face. She also wanted me to tell you that next time, you should leave her some seeds. Stop plucking her fields completely bare. Astonished, Fang Chen scanned the contents of the spatial storage artifact. It was crammed to the brim with yin kai vegetables, at least 10 times the amount he had swiped previously. He instantly understood the Asura King's underlying message. She had completely figured out that he was the one who had raided her yin kai vegetables. Fang Chen, what did her message mean? Fang Chen coughed awkwardly and brushed it off. It's just a blessing. A beautiful, heartfelt blessing. Liu Ruxu let out a soft "oh," but then something else crossed her mind. She frowned and asked, "By the way, why haven't I seen Si Ling anywhere?" Fang Chen let out a sigh, recounting every detail of what had happened with the Moon Venerable. "I noticed her talking to herself more than once, as if someone else was there. It turns out she's hosting a remnant soul of the Moon Venerable." A look of worry crossed her face. "I just hope that when we meet again, she'll still call me her sister." Fang Chen nodded, pulling her close. "She will. Just like the new pavilion of Heavenly Secrets, we'll all be reunited eventually." Just as the words left his mouth, 3 powerful auras swept in from the horizon. They were 3 monks, each carrying a horsetail whisk. The 2 on the flanks were at the 6, aperture Nascent Soul stage, but the sage, like Old Man in the center, radiated a presence at the terrifying 7, aperture level. The crushing weight of his power made everyone present feel like they were drowning. The old man descended slowly before the sect gates. He flicked his horsetail whisk and asked calmly, "Which one of you is Fang Chen?" Fang Chen narrowed his eyes. This man's presence was every bit as intense as the master of the Yin sect. One look at their robes and the shattered Mount Sanqing jade talisman made their identities blindingly obvious. "Are you the Dao head?" Fang Chen asked, his voice low. He was taken aback. The Heavenly Secrets Pavilion's forced establishment here had actually drawn the sect leader of Sanqing Mountain himself. Was the Dao head really that bored? A matter an elder could handle shouldn't require a leader's presence. No, he was likely here for something else entirely. "So, you're Fang Chen." The sect leader of Sanqing Mountain fixed his gaze on him. An ochre ripple emanated from his eyes, scanning Fang Chen's body. Under that scrutiny, Fang Chen's 3, aperture cultivation, and his 4, aperture soul strength were laid bare. "It seems you have a rare gift for the soul arts. It looks like Elder Xiang was right to suspect you." Fang Chen's heart skipped a beat. He knew exactly where this was going. They were here because he'd cracked the formula for the winter cicada nirvana pill. The sect leader of Sanqing Mountain asked casually, "Tell me, how did you do it?" His tone was level, yet it carried a crushing weight. Anyone with a weaker will would have crumbled and confessed immediately. Fang Chen cupped his hands. "Senior, I'm afraid I have no idea what you're talking about." The sect leader of Sanqing Mountain remained expressionless. The winter cicada nirvana pill, does that name ring a bell? Fang Chen didn't let his composure slip for a second. Never heard of it. The sect leader of Sanqing Mountain watched Fang Chen's eyes intently, searching for a hint of panic or a flicker in his soul. Finding none, he began to wonder if he had the wrong person. After a moment of silence, he nodded slightly. "Fine, I won't ask again. Master Xuanxing, grant him a meditative dissolution. Make it quick." The old monk at the 6, aperture Nascent Soul stage to his left nodded, as you wish. He stepped into the air toward Fang Chen, his robes and horsetail whisk fluttering with a sage-like grace. But the task he was about to perform sent a chill down everyone's spine. To kill a man simply because he wouldn't talk, it was cold-blooded. Fang Chen said grimly, Dowhead, are you really okay with killing an innocent man? The sect leader of Sanqing Mountain replied coldly, better to kill an innocent than let a threat slip through. Since you're a suspect, you're guilty. He then turned his gaze toward the crowd from the Heavenly Secrets Pavilion. Disband immediately. I have no taste for unnecessary slaughter. 2 simple sentences, yet they reeked of Mount Sanqing's absolute tyranny. He claimed to dislike killing, yet he was ordering an execution on a whim without a shred of proof. If the master of the Heavenly Secret Pavilion dared to utter a single word of protest, a bloodbath would follow. Not a single soul would be left alive. Fang Chen let out a dark laugh. You people from Mount Sanqing are truly disgusting. From Master Qianyong onward, he hadn't met a single one he liked. The sect leader of Sanqing Mountain's eyes flashed. By the sound of it, you've dealt with our people before. That's all the confirmation I need. Seize him. Fang Chen's life meant nothing to him. The only thing of value was how he'd cracked the formula. If that secret got out, it would threaten the very foundation of Mount Sanqing. That was the only reason he had come personally. Master Xuanxing nodded, understood. He unleashed his powerful 6, aperture Nascent Soul aura and advanced on Fang Chen. I will shatter your nascent soul. It will be painless. But if you resist, I'll break your limbs first. Don't be foolish. Fang Chen's eyes turned cold. Sensing the master of the Heavenly Secret Pavilion was about to step in, he barked, Pavilion Master, protect the others. Stay out of this. The power gap is too wide. Numbers won't save us here. The sect leader of Sanqing Mountain and the other 6, aperture elder, hadn't even moved yet. If the Pavilion Master joined the fray, they would surely strike. But can you handle this? The master of the Heavenly Secret Pavilion frowned deeply. He knew the Grand Sect founding ceremony would be difficult, but he never expected a disaster of this magnitude. Who could have predicted that the leader of one of the 7 great cults would show up in person? Fang Chen didn't answer. These elite powerhouses were formidable, especially one who was second only to the Dowhead. But with his life on the line, he had no choice. Master Xuanxing said indifferently, going to fight back, that's a mistake. He took a step forward, and an invisible ripple surged toward Fang Chen, a direct soul attack. Fang Chen braced himself, knowing better than to underestimate his opponent. The monks of Mount Sanqing specialized in soul energy. Their techniques were the finest in the Taking Grand Province. His eyes flashed as he activated the soul-imprisoning lock. With his 4 aperture soul strength, he could normally affect even a 7 aperture Nascent Soul. A 6 aperture cultivator should have been paralyzed for several seconds. However, Master Xuanxing's body only jolted slightly. He snapped out of it in less than a second, his indifferent face showing a flicker of shock. You know, a secret soul technique too. Fang Chen was equally stunned. This man's soul strength had likely reached the peak of the 7 aperture Nascent Soul stage. The soul-imprisoning lock barely slowed him down. Seizing the moment of surprise, Master Xuanxing struck again. His eyes narrowed, and 2 soul, birds the size of thumbs, radiating a freezing chill, shot toward Fang Chen. Fang Chen's heart raced. Usually, he was the one suppressing others with his soul power. Now, he had finally met a master who outclassed him. In the blink of an eye, Fang Chen whipped out the 9 phoenixes facing the sun hairpin. Fueled by his soul energy, a speck of green light erupted into a massive wutong tree where 9 bronze phoenixes were perched. 2 of them suddenly snapped their eyes open and unfurled their wings. With a piercing cry, they took flight. They seemed slow, yet they intercepted the 2 soul, birds with surgical precision. With a single peck, they devoured the attacks and swooped toward Master Xuanxing. Master Xuanxing's expression changed, a soul artifact. He frantically swung his horsetail whisk, unleashing waves of soul energy to repel the phoenixes. But the phoenixes ignored the attacks entirely, diving straight through Master Xuanxing's body. They dragged out a soul form, one far more powerful than any ordinary spirit. Terrified, Master Xuanxing roared, so, l'exterminating blade, a pitch-black blade flew from his chest. It didn't release a physical edge, but a spectral blade, shadow, that slammed into the 2 phoenixes. The phoenixes faltered, their grip loosening. Master Xuanxing scrambled back into his physical body in a panic. But that was exactly what Fang Chen was waiting for. Soul-imprisoning lock, he barked. A 7 aperture soul might be hard to bind while anchored in a body, but once exposed, nothing short of the deity transformation realm can escape those chains. Half of Master Xuanxing's soul was being wrenched out by the phoenix bird. In this state, the soul-imprisoning lock was far more effective than before. Instantly, countless chains bound his spirit, preventing him from slipping back into his body. Panic flickered in his eyes. Before his soul could be fully torn away, he roared, "Soul, exterminating blade." The massive black blade rose once more, hacking toward Fang Chen. Fang Chen was prepared. A ripple in space appeared at his chest as little Killen lunged toward the blade, grabbing it with its tiny claws before vanishing again, dragging the weapon far from the battlefield. The blade struck empty air. Master Xuanxing gasped, his composure completely shattered. "Dao Head, save me," he shrieked, but even without the plea, the sect leader of Sanqing Mountain had already sensed the danger and intervened. "You think you're worthy of killing in my presence?" As the words fell, Fang Chen felt a stabbing pain in his spirit. The Dao Head's voice carried an invisible soul-based attack. It felt as if hundreds of swords were hacking at his soul. The agony made his vision go dark, and he nearly collapsed into unconsciousness. Clinging to his last shred of awareness, he pulled out the golden Buddha. Its brilliant light washed over the area, purifying the surroundings and healing Fang Chen's body, causing the pain in his soul to vanish instantly. Master Xuanxing had just broken free from the soul-imprisoning lock and was about to dive back into his body when Fang Chen snapped awake. "Get back here," he snarled, relocking the chains. As Fang Chen pushed his soul power to the limit, Master Xuanxing's spirit was like a shell clinging to a rock being pried off by force. Once fully removed, he would have no choice but to use body seizing and start his cultivation over, effectively ruining his path as a martial artist. Only Master Xuanxing's feet remained in his physical body as he shrieked in terror, "Dao Head, save me." He never imagined this boy, whom he thought he could kill effortlessly, would be so monstrous. Everything happened too fast for even the sect leader of Sanqing Mountain to react. He hadn't expected a brat from a common continent to possess Abbot Puguang's protective golden Buddha. Unable to reach him in time, he could only roar, "Stop." Fang Chen's eyes were filled with murderous intent. These people tried to kill him at every turn. Did they really think they could just tell him to stop? If they wanted to kill him, Mount Sanqing would have to bleed first. Out he bellowed, forcing the soul-imprisoning lock to its peak. With a sharp pop, Master Xuanxing's soul was torn free. Defenseless against the chains, the spirit was bound into a sphere and flew straight into Fang Chen's hand. Fang Chen immediately sealed it inside a nether soul crystal. He had no time to deal with it now. The sect leader of Sanqing Mountain was attacking in a fury. He lashed out with his horsetail whisk, its thousands of threads surging with the power of the Nascent Soul at the 8 aperture Nascent Soul level, aiming to shred Fang Chen's spirit like a pincushion. Fang Chen brought out the golden Buddha again. It unleashed a flood of divine light, manifesting as a massive golden deity to shield him. However, the golden Buddha could only withstand a blow from a 7 aperture Nascent Soul. The sect leader of Sanqing Mountain's soul power was already at the level of an 8 aperture Nascent Soul. The golden deity held for a heartbeat before shattering. The small golden Buddha itself, drained of its final spark of power, was ground into dust by the threads of the horsetail whisk. But that brief moment was enough for Fang Chen to escape using shadow in the clouds. The sect leader of Sanqing Mountain's eyes burned with lethal intent. He tracked the lingering traces of lightning and commanded, "Master Xuanai, kill everyone in the Heavenly Secrets Pavilion. Leave no survivors." Master Xuanai, his face twisted with cold rage, gripped his horsetail whisk and lashed out, "You pieces of trash! You dare destroy Master Xuanxing's body! I'll send every one of you to the grave with him." At that moment, the sect leader of Sanqing Mountain pinpointed Fang Chen. The trail of lightning ended right behind Master Xuanai. He realized instantly that Fang Chen wasn't fleeing. He was going for Master Xuanai's life. Master Xuanai's pupils constricted. He whipped his horsetail whisk backward, instinctively, striking the empty air. But 70% of the impact was reflected back, sending him reeling. Furthermore, the attacker had ignored the whisk's strike, just to land a blow on his back. The space wavered. Fang Chen appeared, stumbling and coughing up blood. He was holding a spirit concealment talisman that was more than half bent. A trace of emerald green fire lingered in his right palm. When he saw the talisman, the sect leader of Sanqing Mountain's expression changed drastically. "The spirit concealment talisman, how do you have that?" Didn't King and Elder Xiang claim that the hellish desolate beast, posing as Black Moon, had stolen it? They had lied. But why? Master Xuanai was fuming. He had been backstabbed by an artifact from his own sect. "Dao Head, don't kill him yet," he roared. "I want him to watch his own people die in agony. He needs to pay for this in blood." With that, he raised his horsetail whisk again. Suddenly, a searing heat erupted from his back. He unleashed his power of the Nascent Soul to shake it off, but the source of the pain wouldn't budge. Instead, the burning intensified, spreading rapidly across his spine. Emerald green flames were devouring his back. Fang Chen wiped the blood from his mouth and said coldly, "Why don't you worry about watching yourself die first?" He hadn't used his precious spirit concealment talisman just for a minor distraction. He had delivered a parting gift, the Nether Ghost Fire. As he spoke, the Nether Ghost Fire exploded, instantly covering Master Qianai's entire back. The terrifying heat reduced the flesh on his back to black ash that drifted away. Master Qianai frantically beat at the flames with his horsetail whisk. Instead of extinguishing the fire, the low-grade spirit artifact whisk melted instantly. Terrified, Master Qianai screamed, "Dowhead, save me!" The sect leader of Sanqing Mountain was startled and immediately lashed out with his mid-grade spirit artifact horsetail whisk to smother the flames. But the moment the threads touched the Nether Ghost Fire, they ignited too, the fire racing up the whisk toward him. Horrified, the sect leader of Sanqing Mountain severed the threads, just barely saving his mid-grade spirit artifact. Master Qianai's entire body was swallowed by the flames, turning him into a screaming human torch. Before his body was scorched to nothing but ash, a scream of pure, venomous rage erupted from within. "I'll see you dead for this." With a sharp whoosh, Master Qianai's soul tore away from his physical shell. Using Master Xuanxing's fate as a warning, he didn't hesitate. He instantly dove into the void, giving Fang Chen no time to prepare a soul trap. But he had underestimated the soul-imprisoning lock. Fang Chen was 3 steps ahead. Just as half of Qianai's soul form vanished into the void, he triggered the technique. Spectral chains blanketed his form, violently dragging him back just as he was about to escape into the ether. Terror seized Master Qianai as he shrieked, his voice trembling, "Stop. Put me down. Stop this now." The sect leader of Sanqing Mountain had completely lost his usual composed, transcendent grace. His 2 strongest elders had been slaughtered right under his nose by a mere kid, who was now taking their souls alive. It was the ultimate humiliation. "You little brat!" His eyes threatened to burst with fury as a murderous intent exploded from him. "Release their souls. Do it now, or I will turn the Heavenly Secrets Pavilion into a slaughterhouse." As he roared, he lashed out again, his horsetail whisk whipping toward Fang Chen like 1,000 deadly snakes. This time, there was no golden Buddha left to shield him. Fang Chen's eyes turned cold as ice. While still reeling in Master Qianai, he flicked his wrist, summoning a sword casket to hover before him. "You old fool," he growled. "Don't worry about them. You aren't leaving here alive either." He slammed his palm against the casket, revealing the 9-colored radiance sword he had been nurturing within. After a week of cultivation, the blade was far more solid, pulsing with tangible, vibrant power. The sheer pressure radiating from the sword was enough to make anyone's heart skip a beat. Fang Chen pointed a finger, and the radiant blade let out a low, vibrating hum before soaring out to meet the 1,000 silken threads of the whisk. The moment it manifested, the blade unleashed a terrifying, crushing aura that dominated the battlefield. Any threat of the horsetail whisk that came within inches of the 9-colored light simply disintegrated. The sect leader's fury instantly turned to pure shock. "Donghua, sword intent. Who the hell are you?" He was shaken to his core. Abbot Puguang's golden Buddha, Donghua, sword intent, and the secret arts of the fire worship cult. How could one person possess all of this? Facing the lethal glow of the radiant sword, he couldn't afford to worry about Master Qianai's soul anymore. He frantically swung his whisk, trying to entangle the 9-colored light. But in this world, who could truly stand against Donghua's sword intent? With a deafening crack, the horsetail whisk mid-grade spirit artifact he had carried for decades shattered into pieces. The 9-colored radiance sword didn't slow down, darting straight for the sect leader's heart. The sect leader's expression turned grim. He moved with desperate speed, summoning a pitch-black cauldron between his palms. The surface of the cauldron was etched with ancient runes. As he poured his power into it, the black cauldron began to spin violently. The runes flew off the metal, forming a shimmering barrier of light in front of him. The 9-colored radiance sword hit the barrier and slowed as if it had flown into a thick swamp, its piercing momentum dying out. Sensing an opening, the sect leader's eyes sharpened. He gripped the black cauldron and slammed it down onto the sword. The 9-colored light shattered. Only a faint, nearly transparent shadow of the blade managed to fly back to Fang Chen. At that exact moment, Fang Chen finished dragging Master Qianai in and shoved the soul into another soul crystal. Seeing his sword weakened, he immediately recalled the phantom image to the casket for further nurturing. His heart sank slightly, as expected of a sect leader. The man's arsenal was formidable. Zhang Wuya's sword intent could easily butcher an 8, aperture Nascent Soul, and terrify a 9, aperture 1, yet this strange black cauldron had stopped it cold. The sect leader looked at the remains of his shattered whisk, his heart aching with loss. Even if he wiped out everyone in the Heavenly Secrets Pavilion and tore Fang Chen limb from limb, it wouldn't make up for what he had lost today. He glared at Fang Chen with ancient, burning eyes. To think you'd force me to use Mount Sanqing's sect, protecting treasure. Your journey ends here. He struck the black cauldron, reigniting the runes. They converged into a long spear, radiating a bone-chilling energy designed to obliterate souls. I can't block this. There's no hope. Now die. This was a soul, slaying secret art. Unless one possessed a 9, aperture Nascent Soul, survival was impossible. Fang Chen's soul was only at the level of a 4 aperture Nascent Soul. Against this strike, there was only one outcome: total annihilation. Fang Chen felt the crushing weight of the incoming attack. His very soul began to shiver, gripped by an overwhelming sense of dread. In this moment of crisis, Fang Chen gritted his teeth and unleashed his ultimate trump card, the Judgment Pen, an artifact of the infernal realm. Even the Phantom of Blood, Marquis Luangu, had failed to withstand the weight of the completed word, death. The ink on the Judgment Pen had run thin, and while the word death was no longer at its peak power, it remained a lethal, unstoppable force. With a flick of his wrist, the Judgment Pen rapidly drained Fang Chen's power of the Nascent Soul, followed instantly by his void, flow lightning force. Fortunately, his breakthrough to the 3, aperture Nascent Soul, made him far more resilient than during his time crossing the tribulation. He managed to retain his physical strength and his void, flow fire force. At least he wouldn't be left a hollow shell, waiting for death after a single use like before. The character for death manifested instantly. As Fang Chen thrust his pen forward, the word surged forth, expanding like a massive, inescapable web that snared everything in its path. The sect leader of Sanqing Mountain's heart hammered against his ribs, his pupils constricting in shock. What is this thing? The word death sent a shiver down his spine, invoking a primal terror he hadn't felt since ascending as the sect leader of Sanqing Mountain. For a brief moment, regret flickered within him. He shouldn't have pushed things this far over a mere pill formula. His opponent was too unpredictable. These strange techniques and magical artifacts were more than just unsettling. They were a genuine threat to his life. But it was too late for regrets. This had become a fight to the death. If he survived, it would be the end of the Heavenly Secrets Pavilion. If Fang Chen lived, his own end was certain. His eyes burned with murderous intent. Die, he roared. A spear forged from glowing runes tore through the void, lancing toward Fang Chen. The word death stood its ground. Despite its unstoppable nature, the spear managed to collide with it, grinding the character's momentum to a halt. But as the power of death began to spread, the spear of runes couldn't resist the decay. It started to rot, disintegrating inch by inch. Moments later, the spear shattered into nothingness. The sect leader of Sanqing Mountain gasped in disbelief. What kind of sorcery is this? It decayed a soul strike powerful enough to rival a 9, aperture Nascent Soul. Looking at the looming shroud of death closing in like a net, the sect leader's face drained of color. He gripped the black cauldron and retreated desperately. But the word death only grew faster and larger, blotting out the sky. There was nowhere left to run. Just as it was about to overtake him, the terrified sect leader swung the black cauldron with all his might, slamming it into the shroud of death. The shroud flickered for a second before passing ruthlessly through his body. An invisible wave of death seeped into his limbs, invading his very soul. His skin began to turn a sickly black, and his soul started to wither. The icy grip of death made him feel like a drowning man in a frozen river, his entire body locking up. Desperate, he fumbled for a handful of life-sus, obtaining spirit pills, and shoved them into his mouth. The surge of vitality slowed the decay, but it couldn't stop it. Even after he had exhausted his entire supply of spirit pills, the rot continued its relentless march. His blackened skin began to peel away in patches, revealing the gruesome, blood-soaked mess beneath. His veins and muscles were turning pitch black, even his eyes were liquefying, as if they might burst at any second. Thick, black sludge oozed from his ears, nose, and mouth. He no longer looked like a refined Taoist master. He was a nightmare, a walking corpse. He howled in agony, yet the rot remained unstoppable. Panic clawed at his heart as the shadow of the grave loomed over him. At the brink of death, he made a desperate choice. He pulled out an ancient, heavily sealed jade casket. Inside lay a single, solitary grain of sand. Fang Chen recognized it instantly. It was Chrono, dust, a legendary treasure sought after by those in the deity transformation realm, struggling against the 5 decays of heaven and man. It was immune to the ravages of time and could grant its user another 60 years of life. With this, he could actually reverse the decay, eating away at his body. The sect leader of Sanqing Mountain glared at Fang Chen with pure malice. Fang Chen, to think I'd waste my life's collection of chrono, dust on the likes of you. I will slaughter every one of your friends. I won't even leave a dog alive. The value of the dust was immeasurable. He had intended to save it as a final insurance policy for his own survival. Being forced to use it now filled him with a rage that defied description. Fang Chen swayed on his feet, a bitter taste in his mouth. He'd played his ultimate card, but he hadn't accounted for the bastard possessing chrono. Dust. He could only watch in silence as the sect leader of Sanqing Mountain swallowed the chrono, dust. The decay ravaging his body halted instantly. A faint, lingering trace of death was purged from his system. Fueled by the residual power of the spirit pills, his mangled flesh began to knit back together at a visible speed. But his hatred for Fang Chen was too intense to wait. Before his body had even fully recovered, he lunged forward, black cauldron in hand. A venomous roar erupted from his throat. I'll destroy you. Fang Chen raised the heaven, monitoring mirror, bracing himself to meet the blow.
Doom.
This furious blow was nothing like the cheap shot the sect master of the Great Yin sect had dealt him before. Its power was immense, far beyond anything Fang Chen could withstand. Even though the heaven, monitoring mirror deflected 70% of the impact, the remaining force slammed into him, cracking his bones and nearly pulverizing his internal organs. Go to hell. Fang Chen's eyes blazed with a sudden, ferocious light, a hint of madness creeping into his expression. A ball of emerald flame erupted in his palm as he grabbed the sect leader of Sanqing Mountain by the arm. The Netherworld Ghost Fire spread instantly, catching the sect leader of Sanqing Mountain completely by surprise. He sneered, a flame like this, it's not nearly enough to kill me. Gritting his teeth, he severed his own arm with a blast of energy, instantly escaping the threat of the Netherworld Ghost Fire consuming his entire body. Even the sect master of the Great Yin sect was merely wary of the Netherworld Ghost Fire, not terrified. This proved that cultivators at the 7 aperture Nascent Soul level had ways to deal with it. Besides, a major figure like the sect leader of Sanqing Mountain had an endless arsenal of techniques. He'd have even more ways to counter the flame. And just like that, he'd escaped with ease. The sect leader of Sanqing Mountain sneered. HMPH, you were willing to die just to land a finishing blow on me. Too bad it was useless. Disappointed. But to his surprise, a smile spread across Fang Chen's face. Who told you the Netherworld Ghost Fire was my killing blow? The sect leader's cruel smile froze on his face. He quickly realized something was wrong. An intense heat was building inside him. It started as a warmth, but it felt like a tiny ember was rapidly spreading through his veins. A searing pain erupted in his chest. He looked down to see his torso glowing an incandescent red, like a branding iron. A moment later, a gaping hole melted through his chest, and his organs, now molten slag, spilled out. His entire body began to crumble like the charred frame of a house collapsing in on itself. Molten rock trickled from his eyes, ears, and mouth. The hands gripping the black cauldron melted away, and the artifact clattered to the ground. He staggered back, spewing fire from his mouth as he roared in agony, "What have you done? What have you done to me?" Barely able to stand, Fang Chen weakly raised his hand and beckoned. A tiny green spark, no bigger than a sesame seed, shot out from the sect leader of Sanqing Mountain's abdomen and flew back into Fang Chen. Only the fire origin could possess such devastating power. Though minuscule, it contained an infinite, raging inferno. Once inside an enemy's body, death was absolute. He stared down at the collapsing body of the sect leader of Sanqing Mountain and said coldly, "I told you, you weren't leaving either." A remnant soul shot out from the corpse. Fang Chen was ready. Soul-imprisoning lock, but just as he cast the technique, the black cauldron flew up, swallowed the sect leader's soul, and vanished into the void. A venomous, bone-chilling roar echoed from the void. "You killed the sect leader of Sanqing Mountain. All of you from the Heavenly Secrets Pavilion will die." The faces of the master of the Heavenly Secret Pavilion and the others turned grim. All their efforts had been for nothing. Once the sect leader's soul returned, it would unleash a political firestorm. They would face the full, unbridled wrath of Mount Sanqing, and perhaps even the waking fury of their legendary 8 aperture Nascent Soul Masters. Fang Chen snorted. "You won't get the chance." He slapped the spirit concealment talisman onto himself, turning invisible. He then summoned the void fishing rod, which also became unseen. No one could tell what he was doing. Fang Chen closed his eyes. With a single thought, he cast the line. He'd tested it before on Hua Wying. As long as the target was within 500 li, he could reel them back. He focused his mind on the black cauldron, and the hook shot across the void. The line went taut. With a sharp tug, Fang Chen reeled it in, pulling the black cauldron, and the sect leader's soul trapped within, right back out of the void. This sect leader's snarling soul was stunned into silence. Before he could even process what was happening, a cold voice echoed in his ears, a voice that chilled him to his very core. "Welcome back, sect leader of Sanqing Mountain." The sect leader of Sanqing Mountain shrieked in pure terror. No, in the next instant, his soul was bound by countless chains and sealed away inside the nether soul crystal. As for the black cauldron, Fang Chen stuffed it into the heavenly thunder stone along with the void fishing rod. He quickly removed the spirit concealment talisman. Using it twice in a row had drained most of its power. There was barely enough left for one more temporary use. The talisman was meant for escaping soul transformation masters. Using it on nascent soul cultivators was a colossal waste, but he had gotten a mysterious black cauldron out of it. It was hard to say if the trade was worth it. Little Killen flew over, carrying Master Xuanxing's massive black blade. It was a powerful spiritual artifact designed specifically to cleave souls. Fang Chen took it and stored it away. He then surveyed the three corpses. The sect leader of Sanqing Mountain and Xuanyi had been incinerated, their spatial storage artifacts along with them. Only Master Xuanxing's body remained mostly intact. At that thought, Fang Chen walked over, drew his purple sword, and decapitated the corpse. Leaving such a pristine body around was just asking for someone to use it for a body-seizing ritual. He removed the spatial storage artifact and tucked it away. He'd find a chance to probe Master Xuanxing's remnant consciousness later to figure out how to open it. The storage ring of a 6 aperture nascent soul cultivator had to be filled with incredible treasures. He gazed at the judgment pen in his hand. The ink was completely gone. It could no longer write the character for death. He felt a pang of regret. The pen had saved him time and again, but now it was useless. He had no idea where he could possibly find more of that crimson ink. Putting away the judgment pen, Fang Chen forced his battered body upright and managed a smile. "The immediate crisis is over," he said to the others. "But we need a long-term plan. The sect leader of Sanqing Mountain and his 2 experts may be dead, but the behemoth that is Mount Sanqing still stands. We need to figure out how we're going to survive their retaliation." But just then, a chilling voice cut through the air without warning. "You won't have a future to plan for." Every hair on Fang Chen's body stood on end. A violent premonition sent his heart hammering against his ribs. In a split second, without a second thought, he wreathed his entire body in the Netherworld Ghost Fire. In that exact same instant, a crimson blood hand materialized around Fang Chen's throat. Just as its fingers began to tighten, the Netherworld Ghost Fire erupted, scorching the blood hand and sending plumes of black smoke into the air. The hand instantly teleported away, reappearing 100 yards from Fang Chen. The space where it had vanished rippled, and 3 immensely powerful figures emerged. They were cloaked and grim, face wreathed in tendrils of black energy. The 2 flanking figures were a 5 aperture nascent soul and a 6 aperture nascent soul, but the one in the center, he was a terrifyingly powerful 7 aperture nascent soul. From that single attack, their identity was obvious: the White Bone Alliance. Counting Jiao Huangian and the burly man from before, plus these 3, all 5 nascent soul realm masters of the White Bone Alliance had now shown themselves. But what truly shocked Fang Chen, sending a cold weight into the pit of his stomach, was the realization that the White Bone Alliance master was a 7 aperture nascent soul. He had already exhausted every trick in his arsenal to kill the sect leader of Sanqing Mountain, and had only succeeded by a clever gambit with the fire origin. These 3 from the White Bone Alliance must have been watching from the shadows the entire time. They would be prepared. The same trick wouldn't work twice. White Bone Alliance, Fang Chen's voice was grim. "You people just don't know when to quit." The master of the White Bone Alliance was shrouded in a veil of black mist, his features blurred, yet his gaze, sharp and predatory, remained fixed on Fang Chen. "You certainly have some nerve," he rasped. "You've made a habit of slaughtering my men." Fang Chen's brow furrowed. It wasn't surprising they knew about the thug he just killed, but the incident in the underground palace where Qi Xing slept. How could they have known about that? A realization dawned on him, and his expression shifted to one of alarm. "What did you do to Mu Ying and her uncle?" The master of the White Bone Alliance replied coldly, "They're as good as dead. We only kept them breathing long enough to identify you." Now that you've shown your face, they've outlived their usefulness. They're still alive. Fang Chen felt a flicker of relief. If they had died because of him, the weight on his conscience would have been unbearable. Let them go. The master sneered. You must be joking. You're barely clinging to life yourself. What makes you think you're in any position to make demands? While focusing on recovering his power of the nascent soul, Fang Chen remained outwardly calm. My name is Fang Chen. I am a nominal disciple of Venerable Heart, Bane. That is my leverage. The black mist around the master's face wavered. The powerful cultivators flanking him looked equally stunned. This was clearly unexpected. Fang Chen had that kind of backing. The master of the White Bone Alliance narrowed his eyes. Prove it. Ask Jiao Huangian, Fang Chen said. He'll give you the answer you need. The three fell silent. The fact that he could accurately name Jiao Huangian was enough to prove he was telling the truth. They never used their real names in public. Jiao Huangian was the only one who had used his true identity while negotiating with Venerable Heartbane. For this youth to know that name, he had to have met Jiao Huangian in person. Since he was so confident about the verification, it was almost certainly true. The master of the White Bone Alliance glanced at the headless corpse of his subordinate. Since you're one of us, I won't make things difficult for you, he said, his voice dropping an octave. You took the coffin, didn't you? Hand it over, and we'll consider this matter settled. The blood coffin, Fang Chen mused. The artifact was useless to him personally. He had taken it for two reasons. First, to disable the teleportation formation, so whoever was backing Qizing couldn't descend upon Green Lai Mountain. And second, to keep it out of the hands of Venerable Evil Crow, preventing him from making a recovery. I might consider it, Fang Chen said cautiously, but first, tell me, what do you want it for? A member in the Nascent Soul realm snarled. Don't push your luck. Do not think being a nominal disciple of Venerable Heart, Bane, makes you untouchable. Even if you were his prized successor, we'd kill you in a heartbeat if you ruined our plans. This sudden outburst of emotion proved that Fang Chen's question had hit a sensitive nerve. It also implied they had a backer just as formidable as Venerable Heart, Bane, one powerful enough to disregard the life of even a true successor. Just who were these people? The master of the White Bone Alliance's voice turned lethal. I will say this one last time, hand over the blood coffin. Otherwise, even Venerable Heart, Bane, won't be able to protect you. Fang Chen hesitated, weighing his options. Just then Liu Ruxu rushed over. Their eyes met, and sensing the urgency, Fang Chen activated Silent Zen. What's happened? Liu Ruxu whispered. I wanted to wait until we were alone, but I accidentally overheard Asura King Ayu talking to herself while I was with the young master. Dongfang, Can you sent his son out of the Central Plains? He is currently hiding within the human race, and he holds a very high position. What? Fang Chen's heart skipped a beat. Qizing was a figure from 1,000 years ago. If the person extending his life was still around, their lifespan had to be at least 1,000 years. Based on that, they weren't in the Nascent Soul realm, or even the Deity Transformation realm. They had to be in the Great Sage realm. A Heavenly Emperor-level powerhouse from the Asura clan, masquerading as a Great Sage of the human race. The news was earth-shattering. It was almost too insane to believe. A cold chill raced down Fang Chen's spine. He couldn't imagine the catastrophe that would unfold if such a being used the teleportation formation to reach take in Grand Province. With a single thought, every living soul on Green Lai Mountain would be wiped out. Could he really give the blood coffin back to the White Bone Alliance? Absolutely not. In fact, he couldn't even let that Asura, Heavenly Emperor, know he was the one who had taken it. Looking at the members of the White Bone Alliance, a cold, murderous intent surged within him. None of them could be left alive. Liu Ruxu added, I only overheard it. It might not be true, so use your own judgment. You're overthinking it, Fang Chen replied. With a cultivation level like Asura King Ayu's, do you really think you could accidentally overhear her? She said it on purpose, so you would warn me. No matter how much her master and Dongfeng can you clash, that's infernal realm business. There's no reason to tell us anything about the Central Land Realm unless she wanted me to know, indirectly. The realization hit Liu Ruxu. She finally understood Asura King Ayu's subtle gesture of goodwill. As a creature of the infernal realm, helping the Central Land Realm was essentially an act of betrayal. Deeply moved, she said, I will take good care of her young master for her. Stand back, Fang Chen said, his voice hardening. Things are about to get ugly. There is no way I'm handing over that blood coffin. As Liu Ruxu withdrew, Fang Chen's eyes flickered with a sharp intensity. He spoke calmly, Fine, I'll return it to its rightful owner. But I expect you to keep your word. Stop targeting the Heavenly Secrets Pavilion. The Master of the White Bone Alliance gave a cool nod, of course. All we want is the blood coffin. Casting aside his final doubts, Fang Chen produced the Heavenly Thunderstone and swiped his finger across its surface. But what appeared in his palm wasn't the blood coffin, it was the Black Cauldron. Mimicking the sect leader of Sanqing Mountain, he channeled the last remnants of his soul power into the vessel. The runes on the Black Cauldron flared to life, manifesting in the air before him. With a sharp thought, Fang Chen reshaped them into a spear. Though it lacked its former devastating power, it still carried the weight of a 7, aperture Nascent Soul strike. Locking his gaze on the Master of the White Bone Alliance, he barked, "Go!" The runic spear tore through the void, hurtling toward its target. The Master of the White Bone Alliance was ready. He let out a sharp, derisive snort. "I knew you wouldn't play fair." He opened his mouth and spat a glob of pitch, black blood. As it splashed onto the runic spear, the weapon hissed with black smoke, dissolving instantly into nothingness. The corrosive power rivaled even the death of rune. A murderous glint flared in the Master's eyes. "I gave you a chance, now slaughter them all." He barked the order to his 2 subordinates, while he charged at Fang Chen, radiating pure, unbridled killing intent. With his power of the Nascent Soul nearly exhausted, Fang Chen was in no condition to face a 7, aperture Nascent Soul expert. In the face of certain doom, he gritted his teeth. "Cloud, Raymond, we have to try it." Fairy Cloud Raymond caught his drift immediately. She tapped Venerable Mantra on the shoulder and sprinted toward Fang Chen. Venerable Mantra frowned. She vanished into thin air, reappearing instantly at Fang Chen's side. She grabbed his arm in a death grip, as if refusing to let anyone take him away. The Master of the White Bone Alliance blurred toward them. His heart skipped a beat when he saw the woman suddenly appear next to Fang Chen, but he didn't have time to guess himself. He had to reclaim the blood coffin in Fang Chen's possession. He swung his palm, his face churning with demonic energy. A jet, black claw, erupted from the mist, lunging viciously at Fang Chen. The strike was as lethal as the blood hand, far beyond Fang Chen's ability to parry. He glanced at Venerable Mantra, but there was no guarantee she would intervene. The claw closed in, yet she didn't even flinch. A wave of disappointment washed over Fang Chen. He'd have to go all out. He began to draw on the fire origin within him for one final stand, when suddenly the demonic claw froze dead in its tracks, just inches from his face. Venerable Mantra had reached out faster than the eye could follow. She caught the claw effortlessly. Frowning, she looked at the demonic appendage and then at the Master of the White Bone Alliance, appearing confused as to what he was even trying to do. The Master's pupils constricted in shock. The claw's corrosive aura was just as potent as the black blood from before. Even a 9, aperture Nascent Soul expert would have their flesh dissolved upon contact. Yet this woman had intercepted it bare-handed. Finally feeling a slight sting on her palm, Venerable Mantra knit her brows and crushed the demonic claw into oblivion with a single squeeze. The backlash hit the Master like a freight train, and he spat out a mouthful of gore. He gasped in terror, "Run, this is a soul transformation, Venerable." His 2 subordinates turned pale with fright. "Don't all soul transformation venerables have a divine halo? If she's a venerable, where is her halo?" Seeing their leader so badly mangled, they didn't wait for an answer. They grabbed him and fled at top speed. Fang Chen grew frantic. "Venerable Mantra, kill them, quick." Venerable Mantra just looked at him blankly. Whether she didn't understand the command or just didn't see the point, she didn't move a muscle. Fang Chen cursed his luck. What a waste of a golden opportunity. He could only watch helplessly as the 3 from the White Bone Alliance vanished into the distance. If those 3 contacted that great Sage Realm expert and leaked the location of the blood coffin, he was in deep trouble. Steeling his resolve, Fang Chen barked, "One person stay to attend to the guests, the rest of you follow me." The Master of the Heavenly Secret Pavilion instantly knew what Fang Chen was planning. The bridge was burned. It was now a fight to the death between the White Bone Alliance and the Heavenly Secrets Pavilion. The 3 Nascent Soul realm leaders might have escaped, but they couldn't let the rest of the Alliance members get away. With a shout, he led the charge as the crowd surged after them. Before long, they reached the headquarters of the White Bone Alliance. It was perched on the most spiritually rich peak of Greenlie Mountain. The base of the mountain was littered with the corpses of local rogue cultivators. Some were blind fools who had tried to interfere. Others were the original owners of the mountain. And many were rogue cultivators the Alliance had enslaved to build their stronghold, only to be slaughtered once their work was done. Among them were the rotting corpses of women, their clothes in tatters, and their bodies mutilated beyond recognition. The White Bone Alliance had only been formed 2 months ago, yet they had already committed such horrific atrocities. If this continued for a few more years, would there be any room left for rogue cultivators to survive on Green Lai Mountain? The master of the Heavenly Secret Pavilion's gaze turned icy. No wonder Wang Yuandao and his rogue cultivators refused to join them. The White Bone Alliance's methods are every bit as vile as those on the demonic path. Demon Emperor Nuxin, guard the entrance, kill anyone who tries to escape, don't let a single soul get away. The rest of you storm the place? Including the little rebel, they had a total of 8 experts at the Nascent Soul and Demon Emperor levels. Without a Nascent Soul expert to protect them, the fate of the rank and vile Alliance members was sealed. Fang Chen charged at the front. Even without the power of the Nascent Soul, his physical strength was immense and his void, flow lightning force was active. Members at the 9th level of core formation couldn't even withstand a casual blow from him. He left the killing to the others, capturing a survivor instead and interrogating him to find the location of Mu Ying and her uncle. He arrived at a dungeon that reeked of a sickening stench. Many rogue cultivators were imprisoned inside, the majority of them young, beautiful women. Some were already dead, and many others were barely clinging to life, but all of them had been subjected to brutal torture. Fang Chen shattered the cages with a wave of his hand and set them all free. After a frantic search, he finally located Mu Ying and her uncle. Mu Ying was slumped weakly in a corner. The fingers on both her hands had been snapped, and her body was covered in hideous wounds. Her uncle's eyes had been gouged out, and nearly every bone in his body was shattered. Fang Chen's blood boiled with rage. Those absolute animals! Mu Ying spotted him and her face twisted in shock. Junior brother Fang, how did you find us? She tried to stand, but her legs gave out instantly. Her kneecaps had been crushed. A sharp pang of grief hit Fang Chen's heart. He rushed forward. Don't move. He fed each of them a rejuvenation pill. Seeing their injuries begin to stabilize, he finally asked, I thought you escaped. How did they catch you? The Taking Grand Province was massive. Once they left Green Lai Mountain, they should have been like a single drop of water in the vast sea. He couldn't fathom how an alliance of barely 100 people could track them down. Mu Ying burst into tears, shaking her head. I don't know. We hid in a marketplace in a small city, but they still found us. Mu Ying's uncle had finally stirred to consciousness. Though he couldn't see, he recognized Fang Chen's voice. It must have been Old Man Tianji, he whispered weakly. Only he can intercept the threads of fate and uncover the secrets of the world. The White Bone Alliance must have paid a fortune to get Old Man Tianji to track our location. Old Man Tianji, Fang Chen immediately recalled Ling Yin's request. She had told him that if he ever met Old Man Tianji, he was to deliver a specific letter to him. Fang Chen frowned in thought. If he's that powerful, why didn't the Alliance just have him find me? You wouldn't have had to suffer like this. I'm not sure, Mu Ying's uncle replied. There must be restrictions. He likely needs specific clues to work with. For example, the Alliance probably gave the names of everyone who entered the underground palace to Old Man Tianji. He tracked us through our names. But since the White Bone Alliance doesn't know your name, Senior Fang, they couldn't provide him with the necessary information. This Old Man Tianji is way too overpowered, Fang Chen thought. Suddenly, a chilling thought struck him, and a flicker of unease appeared in his eyes. If that was the case, wouldn't it be child's play for Venerable Heart, Bane, to hire Old Man Tianji to find him? All he would need to provide was the clue that someone was using the void, flow lightning force, and he could lock onto Fang Chen's location instantly. Venerable Heart, Bane hadn't found him yet, but he didn't know if that was because Old Man Tianji couldn't find him, or if the old man simply refused to help the Venerable. That old man is a massive liability, he realized. If only I could meet him myself, I could find out Venerable Heart, Bane's weaknesses, or some way to kill him for good. Fang Chen looked at the man and asked, Where can I find Old Man Tianji? Mu Ying's uncle shook his head. No one knows. Old Man Tianji is a phantom. He drifts where he pleases. He's not someone you can just seek out. Even the world's most powerful venerables have trouble tracking him down. Is that so? Fang Chen felt a slight sense of relief. If that was true, then Venerable Heart, Bane likely hadn't crossed paths with Old Man Tianji yet. Looking at their horrific, mangled injuries, he said with deep guilt, Don't go anywhere else from now on. Just stay with me at the Heavenly Secrets Pavilion. Mu Ying asked through tears, Don't you hate us for betraying you? Fang Chen sighed. I'm the one who dragged you into this. I'm just grateful you don't blame me. Besides, it's only human to break under that kind of torture. I'm getting you out of here. Deep within a remote corner of Taking Grand Province, there sat a small sect. An old man, who had only recently broken through to the Nascent Soul realm, knelt trembling on the ground. Behind him, the power of the Nascent Soul flickered weakly. Before him stood Venerable Heart, Bane, clutching a long list crowded with the names of countless sects. He crossed one off with his pen, his brow furrowing as he looked at the hundreds of minor sects still remaining. So many more to check, and only 2 months left. Just then, the transmission jade pendant at his waist chimed. He checked the message. It was from a Vice Pavilion Master of the Supreme Rivers and Mountains Tower. We have a lead on Old Man Tianji, the man you put a bounty on. Venerable Heart, Bane's eyes sharpened. So, Old Man Tianji finally shows his face. If I find him, tracking down the user of the Void, Flow Lightning Force will be child's play. At the Heavenly Secrets Pavilion, Nangong Zaoi, and paced back and forth by the mountain entrance, leading her heifer. 4 powerful auras approached from the horizon. Among them were Baeksin and her subordinate Huang Ying, along with Tong Fei and his subordinate Yong Yuntao. Huang Ying stared at the deserted Heavenly Secrets Pavilion, blinking in confusion. This is the place, right? Yong Yuntao looked equally puzzled. It should be. I checked with a rogue cultivator near. By this is definitely the Heavenly Secrets Pavilion. But it's their grand sect founding ceremony. Where is everyone? Tong Fei huffed coldly. I don't get it. Why did the Grand Libationer order 2 Chiliarchs to attend a backwater sect's founding ceremony? The Directorate of Astronomy oversees all of Taking Grand Province. We keep 100 sects in line. When did we start stooping this low just to play nice with some tiny startup? His subordinate, Yong Yuntao, gave a sheepish smile. Sir, please, take it easy. Fang Chen provided vital intel on the ancient giant's arrival. He's done us a massive favor. Besides, he's a temporary heaven monitoring guard for the Directorate. It's only right we show up to support him. Tong Fei shot him a look. He saves your life once, and now you're his biggest fan. Yong Yuntao went quiet. He had volunteered for this mission specifically to pay back the debt he owed. Last time, while using soul-searching techniques, a hidden seal had backfired on him. He'd been on the verge of death when Fang Chen saved him with a spirit pill. There was no way he was missing Fang Chen's big day. Huang Ying rolled her eyes. Chiliarch Baeksin, you really should have told the Grand Libationer to leave Chiliarch Tong behind. Coming here with that attitude, he's going to ruin Fang Chen's mood. Baeksin glanced at Tong Fei, her face unreadable. Chiliarch Tong, this is a celebration. Mind your tongue and your manners. She stepped up to the entrance and addressed the girl with the heifer. Is today the grand sect founding ceremony of the Heavenly Secrets Pavilion? Nangong Zaoi, and stiffened, quickly nodding. Yes, welcome. We're honored to have you for our grand sect founding ceremony. Inside, she was panicking. I thought only the sect master's friends from the fire worship cult were coming. Who are these people? All 4 were in uniform, and they definitely weren't from the fire worship cult. Huang Ying looked around, curious. If this is your big opening day, where's the rest of your sect? Nangong Zaoi, and hesitated before giving a sheepish reply. Well, honored guests, the rest of the Heavenly Secrets Pavilion is currently out, picking a fight. The 4 visitors froze. Who goes out to brawl on their founding day, leaving only a little girl to watch the door? Huang Ying felt a headache coming on. Your sect is, surprisingly, aggressive. No, Nangong Zaoi, and waved her hands frantically. We're actually very friendly. We're a peace-loving sect, I promise. Baeksin's nose twitched. She caught the scent of blood, fresh human blood. Following the smell, she stepped into a nearby patch of tall grass. Hidden, there were 2 headless corpses. Nangong Zaoi unbit her lip. She rushed to explain. Wait, I can explain. It's not what it looks like. Those guys came here looking for trouble, and we just acted in self-defense. Huang Ying stared at the Sect Gate Tower, where the words Heavenly Secrets Pavilion were painted in a disturbing shade of crimson. Don't tell me that sign is painted in blood. Panicking, Nangong Zaoi and coughed awkwardly. We ran out of red paint. We were just being resourceful and saving money. Yong Yuntao frowned, picking up a pinch of suspicious ash from the ground. He sniffed it and gasped. This is human ash. Someone was incinerated until nothing but dust remained. Nangong Zaoyan was sweating bullets now. That was an enemy too. They, accidentally set themselves on fire. Totally not our fault. Before the Heavenly Secrets Pavilion could even open its doors, It was already gaining a reputation for being bloodthirsty and ruthless. But she looked so innocent, and her frantic explanations, paired with the fact that this was their doorstep, made it look like they were indeed just fending off attackers. After a quick exchange of glances, the four decided to give them the benefit of the doubt. Huang Ying chuckled, "You should clean up better. If I didn't know any better, I'd think this was the founding of a demonic sect." Nangong Zheoyan gave a weak laugh, breathing a massive sigh of relief. She'd managed to talk her way out of it and save the sect's reputation. Being a receptionist is hard work. Fang Chen is definitely going to owe me big time for this. Right then, the members of the Heavenly Secrets Pavilion returned. They were buzzing with excitement. Liang Feiyan's booming voice echoed so loudly it practically shook the entire mountain. "That felt amazing. Our Heavenly Secrets Pavilion is unstoppable, wiping out a rival sect on the very day of our founding. Who would ever dare mess with us now?" "Godhood," Nangong Zheoyan, and mentally collapsed on the spot. All her painstaking explanations had just gone completely down the drain. Huang Ying's eyes widened in disbelief. She looked up at the three massive characters for Heavenly Secrets Pavilion and stammered, "Chiliarch Bakeson, this is definitely a demonic sect, right? Shouldn't we swap our congratulations for a righteous crusade?" Yang Yunt outfroze, seriously doubting his own ears. Instead of staying at their gates for the grand sect founding ceremony, the disciples had run off to annihilate another sect. Even if the Heavenly Secrets Pavilion wasn't a demonic sect, they were undeniably a ruthless, battle-hungry faction. Fang Chen and the others descended from the sky. Surprised to see Chiliarch Bakeson and Chiliarch Tongfei, they immediately stepped forward to greet them. "Chiliarch Bakeson, what brings you here?" Tongfei wasn't having it. With a cold snort, he stepped aside, completely ignoring Fang Chen with visible disdain. He was still holding a grudge from earlier when he had demanded the intel interrogated out of that woman, only for Fang Chen to flat-out reject him. That intel had been jaw-droppingly crucial. It even alarmed the Grand Libationer, who was so thrilled that he helped Bakeson unlock her sixth palace. Missing out on such a massive, fortuitous opportunity for nothing, of course he was pissed at Fang Chen. Fang Chen couldn't care less about his bad attitude, turning his attention entirely to Bakeson. Bakeson offered a rare, faint smile and pulled out a brand new command token. The front bore the characters for Directorate of Astronomy, while the back read Fang Chen. "I pulled some strings and got you official status as a heaven monitoring god for the Directorate of Astronomy. Consider it a congratulatory gift." Fang Chen's face lit up with this status. He was now officially a member of the government. Anyone looking to target him would have to think twice about crossing the Directorate of Astronomy backing him. "Thank you, Chiliarch Bakeson. I will do my absolute best to serve you." Bakeson chuckled. "I don't need you doing anything else for now. Just keep your eyes on the Reverend of 6 Daos. Has he been giving you any trouble lately?" Fang Chen shook his head. "Not at all." Honestly, Fang Chen was a bit puzzled himself. He had visited the Sanctuary of Myriad Tribulations once, but hadn't spotted the Reverend of 6 Daos, who had performed body seizing on Reverend Green Crane's corpse. Perhaps his disguise as Reverend Green Crane had been blown, forcing him into hiding. Bakeson waved it off, no rush. He's committed a few more crimes recently, and he's still leaving behind the signature Fang Chen was here. His grudge against you hasn't faded. I'm certain he'll come looking for you soon enough. A vein throbbed on Fang Chen's forehead. Seriously, he tracked me all the way to the Taikang Grand Province, and he's still playing these petty games. Snapping back to the present, Fang Chen quickly gestured. "Chiliarch Bakeson, Miss Huang, please, come inside." Huang Ying eyed him suspiciously. "Fang Chen, you guys aren't actually founding a demonic sect, are you? Because if you are, I need to stay far, far away." Fang Chen didn't know whether to laugh or cry. He gave them a quick rundown of the whole ordeal, making sure to only mention the White Bone Alliance while conveniently leaving out any involvement of Mount Sanqing for now. Realization dawned on Huang Ying, though she frowned. So it was the White Bone Alliance. I guess you were actually doing the world a favor. That sect was never officially registered with the Directorate of Astronomy. Fang Chen nodded inwardly. The White Bone Alliance clearly had some serious backing. By all rules, any sect establishing itself in the Taikang Grand Province had to register with the Directorate of Astronomy and submit to their oversight. A handful of thugs from the White Bone Alliance couldn't just ignore the Directorate on their own. They definitely had some powerful backer pulling the strings. Someone the Directorate couldn't easily touch. Bakeson interrupted smoothly. "All right, let's head inside." Led by a beaming master of the Heavenly Secret Pavilion, the two walked into the Heavenly Secrets Pavilion. He genuinely hadn't expected the Directorate of Astronomy to show up and give them face. With them here, today's event was shaping up to be truly lively, rather than just a sparse gathering of the fire worship cult and the sanctuary of myriad tribulations. Yong Yuntao also stepped forward, presenting a portion of Hanyuan 9 colored marrow. With deep gratitude, he said, "Fellow Taoist Fang, I cannot thank you enough for saving my life. I came specifically to congratulate you today. It's just a small token of my appreciation, but I hope you will accept it." Fang Chen stared at his face for a good moment before it finally clicked. Realizing who it was, he smiled. "Centurion Yang, you're too polite. Please, come in." Next, Fang Chen glanced over at Tong Fei. Tong Fei let out a scoff and said dryly, "Showing up is enough to fulfill the Grand Libationer's orders. I won't be entering your gates." Fang Chen wasn't about to waste his breath kissing up to someone who clearly despised him, so he let him be. Fang Chen and several Nascent Soul experts from the Sect stood before the Sect gate tower, waiting for the rest of their guests. Tong Fei eyed them and sneered, putting on such a huge display. You'd think some major VIPs were actually going to show up. Suddenly Tong Fei sensed something and looked toward the horizon in shock. Several bolts of lightning roared through the sky, quickly descending before the Sect gate tower. It was a group of 6. Every single one of them radiated the overwhelming aura of at least a 6 aperture Nascent Soul, with one of them even reaching the terrifying level of a 7 aperture Nascent Soul. It was none other than Adept Sanqing and the 5 division heads of the Sanctuary of Myriad Tribulations. Adept Sanqing chuckled amiably, cupping his hands. "Little friend Fang, congratulations on the founding of your esteemed sect." Nan Yuanshu and the other division heads also stepped forward with their congratulations. Fang Chen returned the gesture with a warm smile. "Thank you all for traveling such a great distance to be here. Please, seniors, come take your seats." Nan Yuanshu spotted Tong Fei leaning against the Sect gate tower and asked in surprise, "Chiliarch Tong, are you here to offer your congratulations as well as a mere 5 aperture Nascent Soul?" Tong Fei wouldn't dare act arrogant in front of the division heads of the Sanctuary of Myriad Tribulations. He immediately stood at attention, bowing deeply. Tong Fei pays his respects to the 6 seniors. Junior is also here to congratulate them. Internally, he was reeling. What the hell is going on? Isn't the Heavenly Secrets Pavilion just some small, no-name sect? How did they manage to draw out 6 massive powerhouses from the Sanctuary of Myriad Tribulations to congratulate them in person? Nan Yuan, she likely noticed Tong Fei's awkwardness and didn't bother inviting him inside, simply nodding before stepping into the Heavenly Secrets Pavilion. Only after watching them leave did Tong Fei straighten up again, his mind racing with doubt and shock. When he looked at Fang Chen this time, his perspective had definitely shifted. Still, remembering that the Heavenly Secrets Pavilion was a subordinate faction of the Sanctuary of Myriad Tribulations, he figured their arrival was just an internal courtesy. Surely there wouldn't be any other heavy hitters showing up. At that exact moment, a colossal, blooming golden lotus drifted in from the horizon. Seated cross-legged upon it were several eminent monks from the White Horse Temple. The man leading them made Tong Fei's jaw drop. He frantically pressed his palms together in deep reverence. Grandmaster Puguang, it was none other than the abbot of the White Horse Temple. Alongside him were Vajraphayan and a few other renowned senior monks. Tong Fei's mind was blown. The abbot of the White Horse Temple was a figure of absolute supreme authority, the leader of one of the 3 spirits sects. For him to personally attend this ceremony was completely beyond anything Tong Fei could have ever imagined. Even Fang Chen was caught off guard. He had expected the White Horse Temple to send someone, but for the abbot to arrive in person. That was entirely unprecedented. He hurried forward to welcome him respectfully. "Abbot, what an honor. What brings you here personally?" Abbot Puguang pressed his palms together, chanting a Buddhist mantra before speaking. "This humble monk comes by the decree of the Bodhisattva to attend the Grand Sect founding ceremony of the Heavenly Secrets Pavilion. The Bodhisattva has prepared a congratulatory gift for you. Please, Benefactor Fang, do not disdain it." He brought out a neatly folded red kesaya and offered it to Fang Chen with both hands. Tong Fei sucked in a sharp breath of cold air. The Bodhisattva personally ordered someone to deliver congratulations and even prepared a gift for Fang Chen. Is this really just the founding of a minor sect? If Tong Fei was horrified, Fang Chen was even more utterly stunned. A gift from her. Suddenly, the item felt like a hot potato. Anything coming from that Bodhisattva was something he really didn't dare to touch lightly. Mount Sanqing rolls up, talking about righteousness while ordering a casual execution. The Tao head, a 7 aperture master, literally says, better to kill an innocent than let a threat slip through. Absolute cinema. He then proceeds to lose his 2 strongest elders, burn through his life, saving Chrono, dust, and get his sect protecting treasure wrecked, only to be melted into slag by a power he couldn't comprehend. Fang Chen didn't just win, he served a full course meal of karma. So, is Fang Chen's brutal soul trapping justice any different from the tyranny he's destroying, or is this the only language these so-called righteous cultivators truly understand?